right, and we are recording. So this is actually the 1 year anniversary of Itty podcast. So I wanted to have one of my favorite guests back on the show to do another little interview. So please welcome back Jungle Justin. Justin, thanks for coming back on the Itty podcast.
No worries, man.
It's good to have you. And we're doing video this time, so that's pretty dope. I can see you've got some cages and shit behind you. So
yeah, as always.
Nice. So how's everything been with you, dude?
It's been something else lately. Yeah, with all this shutdown stuff, it's been a lot different. We moved everything online for all my wildlife stuff, and
I was gonna say, how does that affect you with everything that's been? Because when we first did this, it was like just kind of getting
I wasn't
started.
really all that affected by that point, yeah, because everything was still kind of running normal. No, we were surviving. I'm a animal rescue, as you know, right? So we were surviving off of my live shows that I was doing. So traveling Canada, doing shows on stage with animals and educating people and stuff. And the proceeds from that used to go towards our animal rescue. Now there's no live events, and people don't want to touch animals, and it's very different.
Yeah.
So we've moved most.
So
they're
afraid to touch animals and stuff because they think that they're gonna get a disease or something.
I'm not even 100% sure. Maybe even just the worry of someone else has already touched it, or
yeah, people are worried about that shit.
Nobody's really. Everybody's really scared. Nobody really knows what's going on for real, right? With all the fake news going on and everything else too, right?
Well, I guess it brings me some comfort that like you're in another country and you guys don't know what's going on either. So
we have no idea. We don't even know if my kids are going back to school still. We're waiting to hear.
Shit's been crazy here too. It's just been like everything's starting to close back up again. Where I'm at, we're staying open, so people are kind of there. Most places are making people wear masks now.
Yeah, we're just opening up, and depending on what town you live in, you might have to wear a mask.
Yeah. This place, it's like where I live, the state I live in, it's like I'm pretty sure they've just mandated that everywhere you go you have to wear a mask. So
even outside?
Not like I don't think if you're outside walking like in your neighborhood.
But just in stores and stuff?
But like when I go to yard sale, like I still go out, I'll just wear a mask. I'll go to like a yard sale and I'll wear a mask, just because, for whatever reason. So
yeah. For sure.
We got a newborn and shit, so I can't risk any of that shit. So
no, I hear you on that one.
But it is what it is. I mean, it's just like a new. I don't know. I'm hoping that at some point it gets to the point where it's like goes back to somewhat like not normal, but like they need to figure some shit out because like the lack of leadership, the lack of communication, especially where
no volunteers because there's nobody wants to go to strange places, right? So
yeah.
A lot of animal rescues had a hard time through all of this, and there was a lot of GoFundMe pages and stuff like that. I just I hustled my butt off and got a couple extra jobs and made sure that we made it through. But the online thing is picking up now, so that's doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, that's like a good place for you to be. You got all you got all your stuff there. You can start to get all different types of videos about different animals and shit. But you can do new videos constantly.
We've got a Patreon page now for all of our supporters to go to if they want to support us. All the money that we make from the Patreon page goes towards our animal rescue efforts.
Do you want to tell people where they can find it?
It's patreon.com/junglejustin.
Okay, easy
real
enough.
Simple, yeah. And it goes towards our exotic animal rescues, like the ones you can kind of see behind me, as well as I do wildlife calls. So especially right now during all this crazy shutdown thing, there's a lot of urban wildlife. So animals that live near the city or within the city, all because there was no people around for almost 3 months where I'm at. We were all locked inside for a while. So the animals kind of just moved in wherever they found. Right. So there's a lot of animals in places they shouldn't be. And we offered that this year for free, just to help the misplaced animals.
That's dope. That's really sick.
So
I was just reading some, you got to. I was just reading some story about I can't remember where this city was or this town, but they basically lost this town to monkeys. Like they basically, these monkeys like took up a movie theater. Like that's where they lived off of. And they were like eating themselves to death. They had so much food. And I guess people thought like it was a good idea to feed them to try to get them to go away. And so they just kept coming back. And like, so they basically took over some town. They were like, the town's lost with all these monkeys.
It's never a good idea to feed wildlife ever. Even like bird feeders aren't all that harmful, but I know people who hate their neighbor's bird feeder because there's too many birds pooping on their car. And it's when you feed animals,
they attract squirrels too.
Well, yeah, and when you feed animals, they just get way too comfortable with humans, because not all of us are good, right?
Right.
And the problem is what happens when they run into a bad human who doesn't like animals or doesn't like that animal.
Right.
Then it ends up being a conflict, right?
Yeah.
Right now in the city of Toronto, the coyotes are a big problem. Well, I wouldn't say a big problem. Everyone thinks it's just normal. But the coyotes are moving into the ghettos, basically, when that shutdown happened. They were eating all the garbage.
Right.
Everything that they could get at, basically. But now they're getting braver because they're just around humans all the time now, right? So they're chasing people with their dogs and stuff. It's getting a little out of hand.
You said that's in Toronto?
Yeah, the city of Toronto, which is like a couple million people live there. And it's
that's
like
fucking nuts.
The Regent Park area. It's more or less like the urban areas. They're very low income, I guess.
So what do you think should be done in like a situation like that? Like because like I've heard that when you kill coyotes, it just makes more coyotes.
Oh yeah, they start breeding like crazy.
So how do you deal with that problem? Like you gotta cut off the food source, but then I feel like they get more aggressive.
The problem is that a lot of the big apartment buildings and like skyscraper condo buildings and stuff like that, they're owned by somebody who's never probably there, right?
Right.
So if the garbage gets backed up or something like that happens and it's hanging out into the alleyway where they can get at it, they're always gonna know there's a food source there, right?
Right.
So as long as no one's holding those people accountable, right now, if you ask the city or you ask Coyote Watch Canada or anybody like that, they say that it's from people feeding the coyotes that they're getting so brave. I don't know a single person I've ever met in my life that wanted to feed a coyote.
Right.
So,
unless you thought it was a dog, but like most people know the difference.
Yeah,
you'd be like, that dog's pretty sick.
They look a little scraggly compared to a dog, right?
Right.
So and yeah, I've never met anybody that was like, let's go feed a coyote. Maybe a squirrel or a chipmunk or a raccoon even.
Some fucking ducks or something, but
coyotes, you're not taking out a T-bone steak to go feed the coyote in the backyard. Like that's a little.
Unless you're a weirdo, you're just like, these are my people. But,
they're blaming it on random people feeding these coyotes when it's more or less the fact that they're getting access to these places with garbage and stuff like that. Yeah, they just need to maybe they're looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
When I brought it up, they told me that they've had systems in place for over a decade and there isn't much that I could offer that they haven't already thought of. I think they were a little offended. But I mean, everything's got to evolve, adapt, and change eventually, right? Maybe Toronto was a very different place 10 years ago. maybe it's time to reassess the coyote situation, maybe think a little differently.
Right.
That's a lot of these guys, they just don't, they expect an animal to be an animal. And this is what we expect of coyotes. So this is what the problem is, but they've changed over time. In that area, those coyotes probably haven't seen actual wild for 40 years.
And
I
was gonna say, yeah, they have to like change and evolve at some point. I mean, if there's
yeah,
those
are just purely city coyotes. They have a little bit of green space in the middle. It's like New Yorkish. It's like a very small New York, right? Toronto.
So like, can I ask you a question real quick? So like, when you hear coyotes and shit, and like you see them moving into cities, and they're in areas near you, like what type of places will they hide? Like, do they hide in plain sight, or is it like they hide deep in the woods, and then because you always hear them, and then you just like you don't know.
Yeah. Well, where I live, it's about 45 minutes north of Toronto, so we're a little more country out here. And I live in like a nice little suburb here. It's quiet. We're right on the edge of town, so there's like a big forest and fields over there. I can hear coyotes every night, and it's like probably 20 to 40 of them out there that you can hear howling and yipping and stuff. But the neighborhood has told me that they've only ever seen one coyote that wandered into this suburb. And it was a young coyote who was probably lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was only a pup, so he was probably just wandering and got lost. So if they have access to natural food, if they have a viable habitat for them to live in naturally, they'll go for that and avoid us completely.
Right.
Because they have all that farm field on the other side of these houses, right?
Right.
So the garbage isn't all that appealing to them. They want that natural. They want to hunt. They want to catch it. They want to eat it, and they want it to be fresh, not your garbage. So the ones in Toronto, they're going for garbage because their habitat's probably not as viable as it maybe once was, right? Slowly we build around it, and we keep giving more space to humans and less space to them when you're in the middle of a big metropolis like Toronto, right?
Right.
Eventually, all those green spaces get covered with concrete, and they just have to keep moving into a smaller space. And if you look at the map, the green space in Toronto is pretty big, but I mean, it's kind of a zigzag pattern till it reaches the outer limits of town. And then on the south of Toronto, it's all lake. So they can only go north, and they got to follow that pattern, which is like kilometers and kilometers of a maze basically to find the wild. So they've probably never seen it in their entire lifetime.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they've just seen whatever little green space that Toronto's.
And you think 40 years, at least 40 years, they've been like that?
I think I was looking at like sky pictures, plane pictures of Toronto over 40 years ago, and it was a lot more green and more of a straight path out about 40 years ago. So I think if they had access, it would have been like 40 years plus they've been no access to their natural ways, right? But I'm just me, some guy with a small rescue. So Toronto and Coyote Watch Canada maybe don't take me as seriously as they maybe should, but I've been out there getting footage of them. I'm going to start posting stuff on my Patreon about the Toronto Coyotes, and people can go there and check it out, because they're brave. They're some of the bravest coyotes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
When it comes to humans, yeah.
I mean, they'll snatch up kids and shit. Like when they're in the city, they'll snatch up. I mean, we used to put our pit bull outside, and I would tell my wife, I'm like, when you go outside at night with him, make sure you stay with him, because like even though we have 6-foot fences, like they can jump that and grab him and snatch him up. Like,
or they find a hole and get in there, yeah.
Yeah, so
and I mean, as far as it goes, like a coyote should try to avoid humans. We're normally too big, from like, I'd say even like 7, 8 years old. That's pretty big. You're about the same size as a coyote by that age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you get to be about the same size as them, they don't want to fight because they don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
So they always pick on something a lot smaller. So it's like young toddlers would be at risk, small dogs, cats especially. That's most cats go missing. It's not because they ran away. It's probably a coyote.
Right.
So they'll go after all that kind of stuff because they like to eat rabbits. They like to eat field mice, smaller prey, right?
Yeah. Now, when they kill stuff, do they all like share it, or they just go after? Or they just all every man for himself?
Coyotes are kind of weird. I always say that there's like 4 types of people. There's wolves, there's sheep, there's coyotes, and then there's sharks. Coyotes are like that adaptive. They can adapt to any situation. They can live in the city. They can live in the country. They can live on a farm. They can live anywhere and be okay. They'll find a way to survive. And then there's like a wolf could never live in a city. It would never happen. It would die. It would never be able to find a way to survive. And then also coyotes can live on their own, or they can live as a pack. So they're very adaptive, right?
Right.
They're super cool animals, actually. It's just a shame that too many people think of them as a pest, I guess.
Yeah.
Mostly farmers and stuff like that, because livestock, nobody wants to have their chickens eaten.
Right.
But if you properly safeguard everything, then it is possible to avoid them, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Lethal force.
They're cool, like you said. They're cool animals. Like we just talked for about 15 minutes about coyotes.
Oh yeah,
no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, but like you said, they can be seen as pests to certain people, like especially if you're, But like now that they're creeping into other people's places, it's going to become a problem for other people.
Yeah.
It's not just like it becomes a ghetto problem, but then like what it's going to happen to other people as well. It's going to trickle into like the suburbs, and so everybody's going to be affected.
That's the problem, right? But as far as it is right now, it's more like it trickles into a humanitarian issue, and nobody really wants to touch it. So the coyotes kind of get the brush off, I think, because it's a much bigger issue than just the coyotes, right?
So they took over that town like those monkeys took over.
Yeah. They were like, just walking around police cars. There's a video somewhere on Instagram of a police car just following behind him, and he stops 3 times to look back at the cop like, what do you want? Like, and he's just strolling down the street like he owns the place, and the cop's trying to scare him away with sirens and lights. He didn't care.
Man.
He's probably used to all those sounds, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, you said when we were messaging back and forth, you said something about Turtle Patrol.
Pardon?
You said something about you were finishing up a Turtle Patrol.
Oh, yeah.
So what's that all about?
Turtle Patrol. So every year, turtles end up getting hit on the road, right? 95%, I believe, is the number. Don't quote me completely. It's up in the 90s of the turtles on the road. They're females. So majority of them have a belly full of eggs. So when you hit one turtle on the road, you're potentially hitting up to 30 turtles. And that really messes with the population. Out in BC, on the west coast of Canada here, the painted turtles are so badly endangered that right now 1 to 6 females per males. So there's 1 female for every 6 males now, which means there's no females to make the eggs, which means eventually that species of turtle could potentially go out of existence, right?
So why do the females get hit so much more often? Or good? Yeah.
Males are smart. They stay home and let the girl do all the work.
Gotcha.
So they do their due, and then they move on back into the water. Where the females, they go up on the dry land, and they've got to find a nice safe spot to lay a nest, kind of like you see on the sea turtles do.
Yeah.
On the National Geographic and stuff.
Yeah.
But they somebody's moving big time back there. But what they do is they come up onto the road because the gravel shoulders are loose gravel, which is exactly what they're looking for a nest site. So they think it's a good spot to lay their eggs. And while they're crossing the road looking for the driest side of the bank, basically, they end up getting hit by a car or something like that, right? So it's not like they're up there just having fun.
Right.
They're just trying to get somewhere. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll see the turtle, they'll pick it up and they'll throw it back in the water. You don't want to do that either. You want to send them in the direction that they're facing. So if they're going away from the water, then put them on the other side. Right. Because they're going up there to lay their eggs. And if you put her in the water, she's just going to climb back up. She's going to think, that took me all day just to get up there.
Just to get to that.
And now I got to go do it again. So then she's going to go back up right after you leave. Damn. So you always take them in the direction they're facing. And with snapping turtles, you always got to watch your fingers.
Yeah, I bet. So what, you go and you make sure that they don't get hit?
There's a lot of marshland where I live here.
Mm-hmm.
And the roads, the country roads all run between all these marshes. So good couple hours of my day where it's the heat of the day, 3 p.m. going off into the evening is when the turtles will start coming up on the road the most. So I go out and we drive the roads back and forth and just see if there's anything up there. If there is, we take them off. And if there's anything hit or injured, we package them up and turtle ambulance them all the way to Kawartha, which is a good 2-hour drive probably. Yeah. But they're the best in the province for injured wild native turtles. So
I saw one video you posted. Would say that again?
I said they do really great work over there. It's Kawartha Turtle Trauma Center, it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I watched one of your videos and like you're looking for turtles and you can see it's all muddy and stuff and you somehow see this turtle from like, I don't know, I have my vision's terrible. I always have glasses on. If I wear sunglasses, they have to be prescription, so like I can't see shit. But you saw that turtle from like a mile away.
I didn't even think about it until after a couple people commented. But yeah, I saw the turtle from the other side of the pond. It's just my regular, it's just kind of a gift, I guess.
Yeah. So what do you look for, bubbles and shit?
It's kind of a glare mixed with a shape. So a snapping turtle has a bit of a, like the shell will show a little bit, like you can see in that video when I'm right about to pick her up. And right in front of it is almost like a stick sticking out of the water. And it's like, so I'm looking for that circle with that stick. And if those two things are side by side, it's more than likely a snapping turtle. It's like a shape and body posture, basically. And it's just, I've been catching them since I was old enough to walk. So just experience, I guess. Being able to.
Oh, it's pretty safe. Oh no, there's one of your buddies right there. I was gonna ask you, what were we talking about?
The turtles.
The turtles. Snapping turtles. Okay. You haven't lost any? You said the worst you got the last time you were on. You said you got like a little slash from a crocodile. Was that what it was? Oh yeah. Crocodilian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you've never lost a finger to a snapping turtle, but yeah, then I remember.
No, I've never been bit by a snapping turtle, nor would I want to.
No, I feel like that would be painful. They have like, is it just sharp, rigid, like, I mean, like what type of bite do they have? I know I've
It's
I've
kind of
seen
like
their snouts and
scissors.
stuff, but like scissors.
It's
So
almost
yeah.
like scissors, yeah.
Ooh,
It's
that
just
would
a really
hurt.
sharp beak that's
Yeah.
like pointed like a blade, and then the other side just kind of fits right snug up against. So it's kind of like scissors.
Little fucking
And
dinosaurs.
they've got such an amazing jaw power. I've even, if you go on YouTube somewhere, there's videos I've seen of guys who had a snapping turtle that bit a stick, and they basically can pick it right up. I wouldn't suggest doing it. It's stressful for the animal, but they've got such a grip that you can pick them right up in the air and they still stay attached to that stick, right? So I would not want to be bit by a snapping turtle. I've come pretty close a couple of times. In that video, actually, he came a little close to the family jewels too. That was a little scary. I think that was the most nervous I've ever been.
Yeah, that's a quick vasectomy though.
Yeah, well, I already got that done. I don't need it again.
No. So I wanted to it popped into my head real quick. I've been to Canada just one time, and we went over to Vancouver. And so we were driving there, and the whole time we were there, we were like Googling, trying to figure out the conversion from miles to kilometers. And as we were leaving, I'm driving and I looked down at the speed limit and I realized afterwards, like we had been in the same car as our car, but I realized after we were leaving, we had gotten back to the States and I'm driving and I realized that it tells you on the dashboard, like right next to the miles, it tells you the conversion rate right there. So the whole weekend, I'm like trying to figure out what it is.
It's the little numbers,
Yeah, me and my wife were like, we both felt like idiots. We're like, shit, we could not figure that out at all. And then the other thing was we went out to see Bill Burr. We went and saw a comedy show. We saw Bill Burr there, and we were taking the bus back. And I had a few drinks, like I was a little tipsy. And this guy went to get on the bus, and the bus had taken off. And so he hit the side of the bus and broke the window. Like he hit it so hard it broke the window. The bus driver stopped, and everybody's like, "Don't let that guy on! Don't let him on!" And he lets the guy on. So the guy sits down. Everybody's just like staring at this guy because he just broke the window. And I'm sitting there, and I've had a couple, so I go and I say something to him like, everybody on this bus just watched you break that window, man. I'm like, there's cameras. I'm like, you should probably go. And he's like, oh, he just gets up and leaves. At the next stop, he gets off the bus. He didn't realize that he was like, yeah, I don't know what was going on with that dude, but everybody was just sitting there quietly. They didn't want to say anything to him, but I'm like, I'll say something to him.
Canada's too polite, man.
Yeah, I know. I was the drunk American.
Way too polite.
Yeah, he just let this guy on. I'm like, dude, he just broke your window, like completely smashed your window.
You guys would never let what just happened happen. They took all of our guns.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they just banned
they wouldn't let that happen.
types of guns. Yeah.
Did they actually take them? They are making people.
They're making people turn them in and stuff. Yeah.
It's crazy because in the U.S., that shit would never happen. But there's a lot of people that are talking about how they've got their guns to go up against a tyrannical government, and they've got in different cities, and now in 2 different cities, they've had unmarked federal agents scooping up peaceful protesters and throwing them into vans and shit. You can't have that shit happening. So the fact that they're taking people's guns and shit,
see, we were okay here when the protests came here and everybody started the protesting here. Basically, Toronto prepared a week before the protest started. They started building plywood walls in front of all the big windows to protect the storefronts and stuff like that. So we gave them time to get ready before we protested. That's how polite Canadians are. And then after they were ready, we all went out and we protested. But in the States, I heard they didn't really pay you guys very much for staying home. Where we got a bit more, so everybody wasn't super hungry or upset. So the protests were very peaceful. Very peaceful.
It was
still full.
The thing about the protests in the U.S. were people thought that it was about that. A big part of it was the George Floyd thing, him being murdered by that cop. But like, yeah, they had the whole stimulus package, and basically it was the biggest upward, like the biggest upward movement of money to, like, the corporations. Like, they gave corporations trillions of dollars. They gave people a one-time $1,200 stimulus, and then they gave, like, extra money on unemployment. But then they made people stay home. So they were like making people stay home, and they were shutting stuff down. But then they were allowing, like, the companies that they gave all this money to, like Amazon and all these other companies, to stay open. So it was just a big, like, and nobody was paying attention, and all this shit. Protests broke out, and that was just a whole thing. And it's still, I mean, there's still protests in Portland. That's why they had the federal agents and shit there.
That's
but
insane.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. So people are like talking about getting guns to go up against the tyrannical government, and they're
there was a point where people I know here, like right before they started all this stimulus stuff, everybody was starting to panic because they were like, I'm going to be out of work. We're not going to have, all the guys I knew were loading up on ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, there was a point where people were getting ready to fend for themselves. Like, it was a thing.
You saw a lot of people here.
And then the government came in with the stimulus package, and everybody calmed right down.
Yeah. I mean, they're talking about a second stimulus, just because, I mean, shit's to the point now where, like, it's just getting
people are still out of
hand. Yeah, it's, people don't know where their next meal's coming from. It's crazy. Like, some people are fortunate, and so they're like, they don't get why, people are protesting and rioting and shit. It's like, they might not have the same luxuries that you do. It's just, it's crazy right now. What I was going to ask you was that, so in our country, they've basically, like, politicized even, like, coronavirus. Like, we couldn't get together to be like, okay, this is some shit that's, like, it's not left or right. It's just, it's like a viral disease that, like, we just have to agree on how we're going to handle this shit. And, like, we still can't get it together.
No, like, it's the same here. There's people fighting, screaming at each other at the storefronts because one's wearing a mask, one's not.
Yeah.
Like, people are so divided with each other and stuff like that too. It's just, like, insanity. We should be working together, not divided.
Right. Yeah, it's great. I haven't had anybody give me shit about wearing a mask yet, but, like, I can guarantee it happens. I've seen, like, people now where I'm at, like, at first, you have people complaining about it, and, but now people are kind of on board with it. But it's just, everything's weird right now, just with everything going on. So.
It is, for sure. Like, even if I started doing events or anything like that again, because not that there is any events booking, because there's no money to be made at an event now. But even if I started doing events, I would have to wear a mask while doing my show, which is like, there's no.
Wait, if you did a show, but that would be, like, in person, is what you're saying?
Yeah, like a live show on
I thought
stage.
You were saying, like,
I have
virtual.
to wear a mask while I'm up on stage.
And
then kids or the audience isn't really going to be able to see my mouth or see what I'm saying.
Like, even if you're a good distance away.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of my stuff is we got to come up to show you the animals, and and here our rules are, if you're indoors somewhere in a public space, you're supposed to be wearing a mask unless you have, like, a health reason not to. So if I went in somewhere to do a show, I would have to wear a mask the whole time I was inside. Right. And then we're not allowed to let anybody touch the animals or interact with the animals, which is kind of the whole point.
Yeah. Damn. That's crazy. I mean, when we first had talked, we didn't know, like, any of this shit. We just kind of had, it was the beginning. I thought like maybe a couple weeks, and then we'd be like, okay. But, like, now we're going, it's like July, and, like,
it was, like, right at the beginning, and we were laughing and joking about Tiger King.
Yeah, it must have been March.
I missed that part of the coronavirus thing, is when Tiger King was out, and
it was like everybody was just a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all this political craziness that you see on Facebook and stuff. I
Dude,
like the
it's
Tiger
nuts.
King memes way better than these political memes.
Well, it's nuts. I mean, I feel like that at some point they've got to they have to crack down on like media. And I know that people like when you say fake news because Trump said it, people are like, oh no, you can't. But it's like it's true. Like CNN, Fox
There's
News,
so
they're
much,
all of
yeah.
them. I don't know if you have the same news networks, but and there's videos online of like these news networks in the U.S. and they all recite the same thing. They're all owned by the same companies, and
Yeah.
it's just like, and they stoke
And then,
the fires.
and
They
then if
just
it's
want
the
you to
other
hurt them.
company, if it's the other company, they say the opposite.
Right. Well, they have a
Which
lot
is
of like left and
but
right stuff
nobody's
here.
telling you what you actually need to do to stay safe. Like it's
Right.
kind of
Like I just want information. I don't want like everybody's got to have an opinion. It's all biased. It's like, and the left is they
and
all
everybody
like
wants
hate
to be
Trump
the
and-
hero that saves everybody from coronavirus with the
Right.
perfect advice.
Right. Right.
And it's like, we don't need a hero. You don't need to be Enrique Iglesias. Just
Right. You just need to educate people.
yeah,
Like,
just tell us
educate
what we
people.
need
Give
to
us
do
a
to stay
plan.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Our governor has been doing a decent job. I mean, there's people here who just, of course, because he's a Democratic governor that have been giving him shit. I mean, I think that the leadership across the board in the United States has been piss poor. Like, you know, that you can't look at any one side and be like, this, like all of that stuff happened because like the Democrats and the Republicans let it happen together. And like people just, it's all theater. I've said it before. It's like wrestling. When you watch wrestling, like, you know that shit's like staged, you know the outcome and stuff. But,
it's all scripted.
Yeah, you got your event. Like Donald Trump is like the ultimate heel.
But it's
He's like the bad guy.
entertainment.
Yeah. And like we've gone to a point in this country where people are like, you know, they think that politicians are celebrities. You know, I remember when people were like all about your guy there, Justin Trudeau. The United States, like, oh, he's dreamy. It's like, no, he's a fucking public servant. Like, he's supposed to be doing a job.
He was a drama teacher.
Yeah, like
the only thing he really had going for him was that his dad was the prime minister before.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as my government goes, I'd have to say they've done, other than taking our guns and doing a couple of weird things that no one really noticed. I'd say they pretty much took care of the people.
Yeah.
Like they gave us a good stimulus to keep us alive during the shutdown. They've even extended it to some people who still need it. They've raised the number on unemployment, like wages, going out. They've raised it up a bit to help people with the extra burden kind of thing.
That's good.
So, I mean, as far as taking care of the people, they did a pretty good job. It's getting a little weird now.
Yeah.
Just with all these strange rules and telling us where to be and where to do. And it went from very cool and casual, just stay away from each other, keep your hands clean. And now it's getting kind of weird and it's going down. So it's like, why are we enforcing all of this craziness now?
Well, here's the thing. Ours went down. Ours started to go down, and then it started to go back up. Like it started to get worse. So I get some of the precaution and stuff because of what's been going on, but like there's just no communication about anything.
That's what I mean. Is there's like no consistency.
Right.
Where I'm at, like you could be in this town and they tell you have to have a mask in public spaces, but then you go 45 minutes to the next town. And you can just do whatever you want.
Right.
Other than stay sick. You always got to stay 6 feet apart. That's always the rule. But the masks, the gloves.
Do people actually do that? Because it's so hard for people to do that. Like I see people walk by each other all the time.
It depends on where you're at. If you're like in the city like Toronto, they're a little more worried about it because there's a lot more numbers there. But when you're out in the country here where people don't really have a reason, we don't have tourism in this small town. So it's not like there's people, we don't even have much industry. So it's like people commute from here to Toronto.
Right.
So there's no one really coming here that we don't already know.
Gotcha.
And the numbers were never really all that high to begin with. So people here aren't too worried and they're all standing in line pretty close.
Yeah.
But they've all got their masks on.
Yeah, they got like the
Every
marks and
single one of
stuff.
them, yeah.
Yeah, they got the marks and a lot like the store lines to know where to go and where to stand. So since we're
Yeah.
talking about government and shit, I wanted to talk about this real quick, and I want to talk about some more wildlife shit because I was having fun with that. But
Yeah, for sure.
our government, like the Pentagon, this was in the New York Times, which, I mean, in the past I would say that they were reliable, but lately, they could skew left or right, whatever way they wanted to. But with this story, it's kind of hard to like be political about it. So they had said I think it was the Pentagon that had come out and said that UFOs basically exist, like that they have UFOs, and that like they said, I forget the wording, but they said that they're otherworldly crafts that they're in possession of, and like basically that UFOs are real and they're like aliens exist and shit. And, like, so did you hear about that?
I did.
That's fucking
I was
crazy,
reading
right?
something about it. That's pretty nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always believed in UFOs.
I mean, it's hard to be like, we're the only ones. Like, there's no way that we're the only ones.
I believe that UFOs and life on other planets are kind of two different things.
Okay.
UFOs, I normally think, are like government testing stuff that they don't really want us to know they have yet.
Right.
Top secret testing kind of stuff. And then life on other planets is like mathematically impossible for it not to be.
Right.
With the amount of other planets that we've found close to other suns and all the if you add that all up, there's gotta be life somewhere else. I just don't know if it's ever made it here. But now that they've said stuff like that, it's kind of like,
yeah,
maybe.
I mean,
and maybe they have crash landed here before, but maybe they were dead. Because if you've mastered intergalactic travel, are you really gonna crash when you get somewhere?
well, I mean, if they get shot down, but from everything that we've heard, but I don't know. I mean, who knows?
You know what I mean? Maybe he's been traveling through space for like millions and millions of years and just floating along till he hit our
But
planet.
they could be like drunk driving or something. Like there could be one
that too.
A problem, and like
could be stoned behind the wheel or something.
Or like the atmosphere changed and they fucking fainted or some shit.
Or the gravity could be different. Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of shit that. Yeah, what was that?
I said there's a lot of reasons I guess he could crash.
Yeah, but there's just so many like things that I've heard lately that like, I mean, Joe Rogan's had a bunch of stuff about it. That Bob Lazar thing, like where he's describing stuff the same for 30 years and everything that he said years ago turned out to be true. And now the Pentagon's saying all that stuff. I mean, I don't know how much they are going to tell us going forward. Like, I don't know if we're going to see UFOs in the next year. Like, maybe that would be the thing to bring everybody together. Like, yo, there's fucking aliens. Can you idiots stop arguing and shit? You're embarrassing in front of my alien friends.
We've got intergalactic travel, people.
People will be like, wait, what color tie are they wearing? Is it red or blue? Is he a Democrat or a Republican?
Yeah.
Like,
if they're the other side from me, tell them to go back home. Yeah.
Bleep Blorp. Bleep Blorp can go back to where he came from.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be crazy, man. If they actually just brought out an alien on the TV or something, nobody'd believe it.
Yeah.
There'd be so many people that would say it's a faked video. And
I've been going to thrift stores and stuff just to make extra money and flipping them on eBay, you know, buy something for a couple bucks and flip it for a couple, $20, $30 or something. And I found a couple of different ET things. I'm like, should I just hang on to this shit in case they like maybe come out and show some aliens? Like, this shit will be worth a lot of money.
If they do show an alien stuff will go up for sure.
Yeah. So
everybody will want a piece.
All right, but let's get back to talking about
it's kind of mind-boggling to think of, right?
Yeah. Like if you just woke up one morning and you saw trending on Twitter, like UFOs.
How minuscule is our problems, like, if that's the case, you know?
Yeah. It's hard to think of the fact that we would be the only ones. Like, you have to be really, you have to live a small life to be like, no, this is it. This is like this block that I live on is it. Yeah. There's nothing more.
You can go to like Costco and buy a telescope and see other planets. So like it's like,
do you ever do you can say like you plead the fifth. I don't know if you have the fifth in Canada, but have you ever
yeah,
tried psychedelics?
no, I haven't.
No. I feel
No,
like
I struggle enough with reality.
Hey, I mean, fair enough. I mean, yeah, for me, I've done it a few times.
A good trip, so I've always been kind of nervous to go there.
Yeah, I think mushrooms are more chill for me. I mean, this is in my experience. Like acid is the one that like I say a lot when I'm on acid. I'm like, I feel like this shit's playing tricks on me. But like mushrooms are pretty like, and mushrooms are from the ground too. So I feel like there's something about the fact that they're grown in nature, sometimes grown in shit.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah,
I'm from Canada, so that's like they just grow them out here. Like they're just
I bet.
They're not legal, but
right.
They're just like you could just grow them in a forest somewhere. It's like pretty decent environment, I guess, for mushroom growing, right?
Yeah,
and
we're on our way to legalization.
It's always been around, and I've been offered lots, but I was always
it's something
too worried.
It's not right for everybody. I mean, it's something that like if you're like I don't know if this shit's right for me, it's probably not right for you. But like
yeah,
if you're like,
maybe
I
if
want
I
to
was
try
like
this shit.
all alone in a room, maybe where nothing can really mess with me.
I don't know if that's the situation you'd want to do it. I think like the best would be like if you have a nice yard or something like where you can just chill outside. I would. Oh yeah, you just because on a nice day, like not too hot, you would have a blast because there's nothing that's gonna like change. It's basically the colors will look like
just be
more
nicer.
vibrant and like I've taken them before, and you'll be looking at like a leaf with condensation, and you'll be able to see just every detail.
Yeah, all the little. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So it's just like it's a different thing. It's not for everybody. It can, if you take too much, it can fuck with you. But for the most part, it's just, I think if more people did it.
Most people I've ever seen have never really had a bad trip on mushrooms. Acid, I've seen people have bad trips where they start getting all paranoid and stuff.
Yeah, I can see how you can do it with acid. I've tried acid just a couple times now. Mushrooms I do them every year at least once. Usually when I can get my hands on them, I'll grab just a bunch and I keep them for the year and I'll just do them a couple times. But those are some that I feel like it's necessary for my mental health. Like it's almost like a reset. Like I feel
they're talking about because they've legalized pot here.
Right. Yeah, they decriminalized mushrooms in a couple states out here.
Well,
so we're like on our way.
Psychedelics now.
They need to. I mean, if you do it in a controlled environment and that's even more jobs that you can open up.
Even Joe Rogan promotes it. He said, like, so long as you have he does that. What is that? The toad.
He does like the DMT.
Yeah, he does like some heavy stuff.
Yeah. Well, DMT is like that shit's like stuff that comes naturally in your body, I guess. It's made from your pituitary gland, they think. And so you can get it from grass. It's not like anything, you just smoke it and it's supposed to send you into the fucking stratosphere for like 10 to 15 minutes or something like that. I've never tried that one.
Describe it. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I that's on my list. I want to try it. I go to this hippie festival every year, and that's on my list of stuff I want to try is some DMT.
But like the way he was describing the way they do that, and I don't know if it's just because they're like super rich, but like he said, like they have like a shaman who helps.
Oh, I'm sure. Like if they were to
take care of them, if you had someone to take care of you and like walk you through it, if it is a bad trip or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see that being okay. I was always around a bunch of dumb teenagers that probably would have fucked with me.
Yeah, when you're with people who are trying to fuck with you, it's like it's not a good thing. But when you're in a good space with people, and that's the thing. Sometimes you'll have a bad trip, but like if you're with somebody who's been there and done them before, like I can walk somebody through a bad trip, no problem. Like if you handed me anybody and you were like, this motherfucker's having a bad trip, I'm like, all right, I got you. Like I would be able to get you back. You just have to kind of bring them back, like kind of get them focused on shit. And then it's usually not that big a deal once you figure it out. Like if you had people that knew what they were doing, yeah, like that, the Jeffrey. But like if you have people that knew what they were doing and it would be able to create more jobs, it would bring in more revenue. It's just another way. Like we are holding in our country, especially we're holding on to like fossil fuels and shit. It's like there's so many renewable resources.
I honestly don't understand why everybody doesn't own a Tesla yet.
Yeah, that's
like why?
My goal is to get a Tesla. Like
they're expensive, but you never pay for gas.
Right,
again.
you don't ever pay for gas.
That's what I'm thinking about like an investment. By the time you've had like a couple years with that Tesla, it's paid for itself in gas. Like
yeah.
Especially with gas prices here, man. It's like $1, $2 sometimes for like a gallon. It gets expensive just driving because I don't know necessarily in your area, but like our area, every little town is kind of spread like 45 minutes apart. So to get anything anywhere else, you got to drive 45 minutes everywhere.
It's kind of like where I live. I live in the Pacific Northwest right now, so I'm kind of like kind of up close to Canada.
Like all spread out where it's not like you're in the city where you could take the bus or you could, you got to drive everywhere and gas is expensive. I want a Tesla so bad, but they just started making they've been making them for a while, but the SUVs and the vans, I need like a Tesla bus.
Like a Tesla bus?
Yeah.
You need
if Tesla started making a bus, I would buy one of those.
That's dope. That's one of the vehicles that I would want just because, like the gas alone. I have to stop and pump. Well, I mean, you could charge at home and then you probably have to charge on longer drives, but those things I think are pretty good about getting.
And at first they were like not too common. You would see those charging stations.
They're everywhere now.
They're everywhere now. Yeah. So I mean, it's not.
Are they quick charge though?
I'm not 100% on how the charging. I've never looked that deep into it yet.
Yeah.
When I get a down payment for one, that'll be my start doing some real research to see what's what. But I'm pretty sure they last a ridiculous amount of time. And then I think the newer ones, I seen something on Joe Rogan. I think he's talking about putting solar panels in the roof or something to help charge while you go and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's always thinking and making it better, right? That Elon Musk guy's a nut. He's like super smart. When you see him think, you can see him thinking. Like most people, you can't see them thinking, but you can see him thinking.
Right. He'll take a second before he says some shit.
Yeah. He always pauses, thinks about it, and then says something. So, like, he's got a million things going on in there.
Yeah, I think the Tesla would be the move. I think if they did, like, some type of big credit for trading in your vehicle, like, with your gas vehicle.
He's got enough money. He should just start giving some away for free.
Right. Like, hey, do you want to trade me for your car? And then just boom, trade him straight up for your car.
He could probably do it on YouTube or something and make enough money off the YouTube videos of giving away Teslas to pay for the Teslas.
There you go.
Boom. There
He's
you
probably
go.
never going to hear this,
welcome.
but that's funny. Shit, man. What I feel like we got completely off topic. What's some more before we finish up? What's some more wildlife stuff that you have to?
I got a new critter the other day, actually, and only you get to see it because it's on my Patreon page right now, but I'll show you. Here she is.
Oh, shit.
Yes, sir.
I'm not the biggest fan of spiders and shit, but, like, I'm starting to be more chill with them. Like, I don't kill them. I just put them outside. Is that a cricket right there?
Yeah.
It's not going to eat it?
She might. I just threw some crickets in there tonight. They don't eat very much, though.
What is that called?
So it's a pink knee tarantula. I'm pretty sure it's from the southern states or South America. I just got it, so I'm still doing a lot of reading on it. But it was somebody's pet. And they got a new girlfriend who is absolutely terrified of spiders.
Oh, yeah.
So
I feel like that would happen like 95% of the time.
Yeah. And he liked spider, but had to go. So that's what we do, right? We take them in, and I'll probably end up keeping this one.
So does something like that end up having like a personality? Like do spiders, or are they all just pretty much like?
They do. I don't know necessarily like small spiders if they would have much of a personality, but these big spiders, I spend enough time with them that each one has its own little quirks, and own little ways that they behave. Like even the same species, you could have two of the same species. One could be timid, one could be very brave, one could be great to handle, one could be aggressive.
Right.
It's kind of, I say, it's kind of like humans. We're all supposedly the same species, right? So we're all super individual. It's the same with animals. They could be the same species, but each individual goes through a different life with different experiences and different lifestyles. They could live next door to each other, but you never know what they've been through compared to the other one, which could change their personality or alter the way they deal with a situation, right? And a lot of the rescues, like, I mean, most people, when they buy a pet, it becomes pretty normal and the same thing over and over if you buy a lot of the same pet. But with the rescues, I see different situations. They all come from a different life, from something different, whether it's neglect or someone just can't keep them anymore, or they came from a really good home and they just, maybe they're against the bylaw or something like that. So I get to see the different effects of different lives that they've had, right? So I've had corn snakes which corn snakes are a great pet, easy to handle, easy to work with. They're like the beginner snake. Them and ball pythons I would offer for children to have for a first pet snake. But I've seen corn snakes and ball pythons that are so nasty you couldn't find them a home because they've just been neglected or left for dead, or they're hungry all the time because they never got the nutrition they needed when they were young. A lot of people think of reptiles and stuff like that as like a machine almost, not as much of a living being like a dog or a cat. Dogs and cats are your friends. Reptiles are kind of cool. So they end up, if you actually spend time with them, they all have their own little individual personalities. If you go to my Instagram, The Real Jungle Justin, I've got a video on there somewhere of my iguana. I'll see if I can, he's probably sleeping. He's in the back there.
Oh, yeah.
His name's Erwin, and he's got his own little personality. When I touch him on the back, he kind of like flicks me with his arm, like, go away. And I've never really seen an iguana do that before.
Yeah.
So it's like each one has their own little things that makes them them.
When I was in Costa Rica, there was a shitload of iguanas. There was just like everywhere you went, there was iguanas.
Oh yeah,
all over the resort. That was like, they had skunks, they had raccoons.
They're like
run up on restaurants.
They're like seagulls almost, like just like a nuisance to them almost, right?
Yeah.
There's so many of them down there. And then Florida is the same. Florida's got a lot of them, but they're not native to Florida.
Oh, they're not?
No,
well, they of course not. Where are they?
Released pets and stuff, like a lot of the animals in Florida.
So where are they native to?
They're native to South America.
South America, okay.
Yeah, like Brazil, the Amazon. Normally, they like to overhang like a river. They're very aquatic. So for him, I've always got like a big tub of water in there with him so he can swim around. We do bath time where we fill up a tub, and he swims around in there.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, and they like the water. A lot of people don't know that about them, but they're like nature's high diving champions. So
I feel like they look so dry, like that you wouldn't expect them to be.
And they're always up in the tops of the trees where you see them, right? But in the Amazon, the best spot to get sunlight, because the canopy is so thick, is the tops of the trees. So they go up to the top of the trees to get that sunlight. But if a predator comes by or an eagle flies by or they'll dive from 50 feet straight down into the river below. So they're like the high diving champions of nature.
So they always will go and do that near the river?
They try to stay above water so that they can dive.
Just jump into it.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. You always learn something when you come on here.
And I mean, they're very tough animals. So I mean, even if he had to dive from pretty high up and hit the ground, he'd probably do it too.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I wouldn't say 50 feet, but they're pretty tough. They can hit the ground.
Damn.
I've seen them in the zoos and stuff, just like jump out of a tree for no reason, and then they walk away like nothing happened. Like you're like, are you okay?
Yeah. Well, we're getting just about an hour here, man. It flew by. We'll definitely do this again.
Absolutely.
It was a blast. I just got to get back to the newborn and shit. And
yeah, no worries.
Appreciate you coming on for the year anniversary. Do you want to plug anything before you go? Make sure.
Mostly my Patreon page. Everybody can go on there. Even
and I'll share that with this episode too.
Yeah, I'm worldwide now. My advice goes worldwide now. So before I used to help a lot of my area and then across Canada doing my tours. But now on that Patreon page, even $1 a month subscription gets you a live chat feed to me for pet advice, wildlife advice, anything like that. And that comes straight to my phone and I can answer you back. If you got a pet question or you're worried about your exotic animal or anything like that, it's on there. And then we've got our videos, like always, the snapping turtles, and we're looking for a cougar that's local to here. We're hoping to catch it on film. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up film-wise for everybody.
So you say you're looking for a cougar. You've seen there's evidence of a cougar and you're trying to track it down?
We've gotten some trail cams.
Oh.
Cougar in the area. It's the mystery animal. Not everybody's 100% sure on what it is. I'm pretty guaranteed it's a cougar from the pictures. And I want to get out there and get some evidence, help the local conservation figure out what they're looking for, because we haven't really seen any cougars in this area for a while.
And will they interfere at that point?
No, they'll probably just leave it alone. There's a lot of cliffs and stuff in this area
that I can just...
where he's got natural space to live. And if he's been avoiding people this good, then he's not really an issue.
Right.
It was only a trail cam that caught him. No one else has ever even seen him or said anything. Yeah.
So you're gonna go try to track him and get some evidence, figure it out. That's pretty dope.
Some footprints or some poop or something.
And that'll be on your Patreon?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, all right.
And if we're lucky, maybe we'll get him on film. And I also go live stream on there a lot of the time that we're doing something right in the moment. If it's the time is right, we go live. Like I went live for a turtle that we helped get across the road, just to show people like they're always out there, right? We go live for animal rescues. So if the turtle's injured, I went live on Facebook the last time we had an injured turtle, but it's all going to be on our Patreon page now. But yeah, it'll all be on there every minute, every step of the way. I want people that are helping me rescue these animals, I want them to see how I'm actually helping these animals. All this time before, I was doing the live shows, coming to people, and we were bringing the animals to people and telling them the story, where now we're bringing the people to the animals and they can watch the story.
Yeah, you got to kind of change up your tactics now.
Yeah, we got to adapt like the coyote, right?
There you go. Way to bring it around.
There you go.
All right, Jungle Justin, man. It's a pleasure. We'll have to do this again. Thanks for coming on the show. And I'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, man. You have a good night.
You too. Take care.